Captain Jack Morrison stood on the bridge of his ship and watched the screen with growing anger. The Galactic Council was making their final decision. 47 different alien races had gathered to vote on one simple question. Would they help save the Varani people? Or would they let them die? The answer came quickly. They would do nothing. Jack clenched his fists as he watched the alien ambassadors leave the council chamber one by one. Not a single race voted to help. The Varani were a primitive species, they said. They had no space travel. They had no advanced weapons. Under galactic law, they did not deserve protection. The Krell Dominion was coming to destroy them, and nobody cared. This is wrong, Lieutenant Katie Barnes said from her station. She was the communications officer, and her voice shook with emotion. The Varani are living, thinking beings. Doesn't that matter at all? Jack looked at the planet below them. Down there, 12 billion Varani lived normal lives. They went to work. They raised families. They had hopes and dreams. And in 2 days, the Krell would arrive and kill them all. How much time do we have? Jack asked. Commander Ben Hayes checked his screen. 48 hours until the Krell fleet arrives, sir. Jack had orders from Earth Command. He was supposed to watch and record what happened. He was not supposed to fight. He was not supposed to interfere. Earth was new to the galactic community. They could not afford to make enemies. But Jack had seen the Varani cities from space. He had listened to their radio broadcasts. He heard their music and their laughter. These were real people who were about to die, and everyone with the power to help them had decided to look the other way. Get me Admiral Chen, Jack said quietly. Katie worked at her station, then looked up. Sir, there is already a message coming through from Earth Command. Admiral Peter Chen appeared on the screen. The old man looked tired and worn. Captain Morrison, I know what you are thinking right now. Every captain in our fleet is thinking the same thing. But we cannot help the Varani. The Council has forbidden it. We have faced worse odds before, Admiral. Chen's face softened a little. Jack, if you disobey these orders, I cannot protect you. The Council will demand that you be punished. Your crew will lose their positions. They might even put you in prison. And the Varani will probably still die. Probably is not the same as definitely, sir. There was a long silence. Finally, Chen sighed deeply. I am sending you new orders. You need to study the Varani world very carefully. Very, very carefully. The kind of study that takes about 48 hours to complete. Jack felt hope rise in his chest. I understand, Admiral. And Captain, the ship you are on is very old. We were going to get rid of it next year anyway. It would be unfortunate if something happened to it this far from home. The message ended. Jack turned to look at his crew. Every person on the bridge was watching him, waiting to hear what he would say. Attention all crew members, Jack said into the ship-wide communication system. What we are about to do is against the orders of the Galactic Council. If anyone wants to leave before we start, you can go. I will not think less of you. But in 48 hours, 12 billion innocent people will die unless someone helps them. I am asking you to be that someone. He waited. Nobody moved. Nobody headed for the shuttle bay. Every single crew member stayed at their post. Take us down to the planet, Jack ordered. Prepare all weapons. And someone figure out how to talk to the Varani. We need to make first contact. Oh, the ship moved closer to the planet. Jack looked out at the stars and thought about what they were about to do. They were one small ship against 50 Krell warships. The odds were terrible. They would probably fail. They might all die, but they were going to try anyway. Down on the planet, the Varani had no idea what was coming. They did not know about the Krell. They did not know about the Galactic Council. They did not even know that aliens existed. Their leader was named Kelsara. She was in a meeting with her advisors when the reports started coming in. Something was in the sky. Something big. Something that was not from their world. Is it a meteor? one advisor asked nervously. No, another replied. It is moving too slowly, and it is coming down in a controlled way. Kelsara made a decision. Everyone stay calm. Send messages to all the nearby cities. Tell them to keep people inside until we know what this is. She went outside with her guards and watched as the strange object descended from the clouds. It was huge and made of metal. Lights blinked along its surface. It made a sound like thunder as it came closer to the ground. The object landed in the central plaza of the capital city. Thousands of Varani gathered to watch. Frightened, but curious. They had never seen anything like this before. A door opened in the side of the metal object. A ramp extended down to the ground. And then, figures began to walk out. They were aliens. They walked on two legs like Varani, but they only had 2 arms instead of 4. Their skin was a strange pinkish color. They wore unusual clothing and carried unknown devices. The leader of the aliens stepped forward. He raised one hand in what might have been a peaceful gesture. My name is Jack Morrison, he said. We come from a place called Kelsara, could not sleep that night. She stood on the balcony of her office and looked up at the stars. Somewhere, up there, an enemy was coming. An enemy that wanted to destroy her entire world. Jack Morrison had explained everything to her and her advisors. He showed them pictures of other planets the Krell had conquered. He showed them what happened to species that could not defend themselves. It was horrible. But he had also brought hope. His people would help. They would teach the Varani how to fight back. It will not be easy, Jack had warned her. My ship has only 200 people. The Krell are bringing 50 warships. We cannot win in a fair fight. So we have to make sure the fight is not fair. Now, Kelsara watched as her people worked through the night. The humans had brought them designs for weapons. Simple weapons that the Varani could build with their own factories and materials. Lieutenant Katie Barnes had spent hours learning the Varani language. She was good at it. Now, she could speak well enough to teach the Varani how to use the human technology. This is a radio, Katie explained to a group of Varani engineers. It lets you talk to people far away. We have set up a network across your planet. When the Krell come, you will be able to coordinate your defenses. The engineers studied the device carefully. One of them, a young Varani named Telson, asked a question. How does it work without wires? Katie smiled. It uses waves that travel through the air. We will show you how to build more of them. Chloe. In another part of the city, Commander Ben Hayes was working with Varani military leaders. The Varani had armies, but they were used to fighting other Varani. They had never faced an enemy from space before. The Krell will have better weapons and better armor, Ben explained. But they do not know your planet like you do. We need to use that advantage. We need to make them fight on your terms, not theirs. He pulled up a map of the planet on a portable screen. Yes, replied a Varani general. The mountains are too difficult to farm. Almost nobody lives there. Perfect. We need to move as many people as possible into the mountains. We will set up bases there. Hidden places where the Krell cannot easily find us. Then we can attack them and disappear before they can respond. The general looked worried. You are talking about abandoning our cities, abandoning our homes. I am talking about keeping your people alive, Ben said firmly. The Krell will destroy your cities, whether you are in them or not. At least if you are in the mountains, you will survive to rebuild later. It was a hard truth. But the Varani accepted it. They began the evacuation immediately. On the human ship, Lieutenant Danny Ross was solving a different problem. The Varani had good factories and raw materials, but their power systems were weak. They used coal and oil for energy, which was not enough to power the weapons they needed. We can teach them how to build better power generators, Danny said to Jack, but it will take months to build enough of them. We do not have months. We have 1 day left. Danny thought for a moment. Then we adapt. We take their existing power systems and modify them. It will not be perfect, but it might be enough. He gathered a team of human engineers and Varani technicians. Together, they worked through the night, redesigning Varani power plants to produce massive bursts of energy. These bursts could not be sustained for long, but they did not need to be. "What are you building?" asked one curious Varani technician. "An electromagnetic pulse device," Danny explained. "When the Krell ships come down from space, they will use electronics to fly. If we can create a big enough pulse of electromagnetic energy, we can fry those electronics. Their ships will fall from the sky." The technician's eyes went wide. "That is brilliant. It is desperate," Danny corrected. "But desperate is all we have right now." Dr. Lisa Park, the chief medical officer, was preparing for the worst. She was setting up field hospitals in the mountain bases, training Varani doctors in emergency medicine. "Your biology is different from ours," Lisa explained to a group of Varani physicians. "But the basics are the same. Stop the bleeding. Keep them breathing. Treat for shock. These are the things that will save lives." She showed them how to use the medical supplies the humans had brought. Bandages, medicines, surgical tools. Everything that could be spared from the ship's supplies was being given to the Varani. One older Varani doctor looked at Lisa with tears in her eyes. "Why are you doing this? Why are you helping us when your own leaders told you not to?" Lisa thought about her answer carefully. "Because it is the right thing to do. My people believe that every intelligent life is valuable. We believe that if you can help someone, you should, even if it is hard, even if it is dangerous." Back in the capital city, Kelsara was making a broadcast to her entire planet. Every radio and television carried her message. "People of Veron, I must tell you the truth. 2 days ago, we learned that we are not alone in the universe. There are many species out there among the stars. Some are peaceful, some are not. Tomorrow, a warlike empire called the Krell will attack our world." She paused, letting the terrible news sink in. "But we are not defenseless. A species called humans has come to help us. They have taught us how to fight. They have given us weapons and knowledge. They are willing to die beside us, even though we are strangers to them." Kelsara's voice grew stronger. "I am asking all of you to be brave. I am asking you to trust in each other and in our new friends. We are evacuating the coastal cities. We are preparing to fight. This will be the hardest thing our species has ever faced, but we will face it together." The broadcast ended. Across the planet, Varani families gathered their belongings and headed for the mountains. It was chaos, but it was organized chaos. The humans had planned well. Jack stood on the bridge of his ship and watched the evacuation. "How many have we moved?" 6 billion so far, Katie reported. "Another 6 billion are refusing to leave. They want to defend their homes." Jack understood. He would probably do the same thing. "Then we help them defend." "What is the status of the defense grid?" "Almost complete," Ben replied. "We have weapons caches hidden throughout the cities. We have explosives rigged in key buildings. We have taught the local fighters how to use them. And the EMP devices? Ready to go. We have them positioned at every likely landing zone." Jack nodded. They had done everything they could with the time they had. Now, they just had to wait for the Krell to arrive. Lieutenant Ryan Cooper, the weapons officer, spoke up. "Captain, I have been training Varani volunteers on the captured Krell weapons we had in storage. They learn fast. Their 4 arms actually give them an advantage." War Master Gethrick of the Krell Dominion looked at the planet below and felt satisfied. This would be an easy conquest. His fleet of 50 warships surrounded the primitive world. The natives had no space travel, no orbital defenses, nothing that could threaten his forces. "Scan the planet," he ordered. "Find the population centers and prepare to begin bombardment." His second-in-command, Rolf, studied the sensor readings. "War Master, there is something odd. We are detecting a human ship in orbit." A human ship? Gethrick laughed. Just one? What can one ship do against our entire fleet? The records say humans are unpredictable. Perhaps we should investigate before we attack. Gethrick waved a hand dismissively. The humans are new to space. They are weak. If their ship is stupid enough to be here, we will destroy it, along with the planet. He opened a communication channel. Human vessel, you are violating galactic law. Leave now, or we will destroy you. On the bridge of the human ship, Jack Morrison listened to the threat. He had expected this. Open a channel, he said to Katie. Channel open, sir. This is Captain Jack Morrison, of the United Human Space Federation. The Varani people have asked for our protection. We are not leaving. Non. Gethrick's voice came back, full of anger. Then you will die with them. Maybe, Jack replied calmly. But you will have to work for it. He closed the channel and turned to his crew. Tactical. Fire everything we have at their flagship. Helm. The second we launch, get us into the atmosphere. The human ship fired all its weapons at once. Missiles and energy beams crossed the space between the ships. Most were stopped by the Krell defenses, but 3 missiles got through. They slammed into Gethrick's flagship, shaking the entire ship. Before the Krell could fire back, the human ship dove down toward the planet, disappearing into the atmosphere. Follow them, Gethrick roared. I want that ship destroyed. 20 Krell warships broke formation and chased after the humans. But as they entered the atmosphere, they found it hard to track their target. The human ship was small and fast, and it knew how to use the planet's weather to hide. Sir, we cannot get a clear shot, one of Gethrick's officers reported. The atmospheric interference is too strong. Then land troops on the surface. If we cannot destroy them from orbit, we will hunt them on the ground. The remaining 30 Krell ships began firing on the coastal cities below. Massive energy beams struck buildings, turning them to rubble. Explosions lit up the sky. Thousands of Varani died in the first few minutes, but millions had already evacuated. The cities were far less populated than the Krell expected. Where are they? Gethrick demanded. Sensors show this planet should have 12 billion inhabitants. Where did they go? Rolth checked the readings. They seem to have moved to the mountain regions. The humans must have warned them. In the mountains, Kelsara watched the bombardment from her command bunker. The humans had built this place deep underground, hidden from sensors. She felt each explosion like a blow to her heart, but she forced herself to stay calm. Krell dropships entering the atmosphere, reported a Varani technician who was still learning how to use the human equipment. Which sector? Kelsara asked. Sector 7, near the eastern mountain range. Activate the EMP grid in that area. The technician pressed a series of buttons. Across 100 miles of territory, every power plant discharged its energy at once. The electromagnetic pulse was invisible, but devastating. The Krell dropships suddenly lost all power. Their engines died. Their controls failed. 16 ships fell from the sky like rocks, crashing into the mountainsides with tremendous force. Varani fighters moved in quickly. They had been trained for this. They surrounded the crash sites and took weapons and equipment from the wreckage. Some Krell soldiers survived the crashes, but they were outnumbered and disoriented. In the ruined cities, the battle was more difficult. Krell soldiers landed and began moving through the streets. They wore heavy armor and carried powerful weapons. They expected to find frightened primitives. Instead, they found resistance fighters who knew every alley and building. Katie coordinated the urban defense from the human ship. Team Charlie, you have Krell troops approaching from the east. 3 blocks away. A Varani voice came back through the radio. We understand. We are ready. The Krell soldiers marched confidently through what looked like an abandoned marketplace. Their armor made them feel invincible. The building above them exploded. The humans had taught the Varani how to wire explosives. Tons of concrete and metal fell on the Krell squad. Those who survived found themselves trapped in a crossfire from Varani fighters hiding in other buildings. It was not a clean fight. It was not heroic. But it worked. Across the planet, similar ambushes took place. The Krell lost soldiers with every block they advanced. They had better weapons and better armor. But the Varani knew their own cities. They knew which buildings to collapse, which streets to block, where to hide, and where to attack from. On his flagship, Gethrick grew more and more furious. How is this possible? They are primitives. They should have been conquered in hours. The humans have trained them, Rolth explained. They are using guerrilla tactics, hit-and-run attacks. They strike and then disappear before we can respond. Then send more troops. Send all of them. I want this planet subdued immediately. Meanwhile, Jack was playing a dangerous game in the sky. The human ship would appear suddenly, fire at Krell bombardment vessels, and then vanish into clouds or canyons before they could shoot back. We are taking damage, Danny reported from engineering. The port thrusters are failing. We cannot keep this up much longer. We do not have to keep it up much longer, Jack replied. We just have to last long enough. Long enough for what? For the galaxy to notice what is happening here. Ben looked up from his station. Captain, you think someone will come to help? I think the Krell promised the Galactic Council this would be a quick, clean conquest. But it is not quick. And it is not clean. Someone is going to investigate. Katie was monitoring all the galactic communication channels. I am picking up chatter on the council frequencies. They are talking about us. What are they saying? They are arguing. Some are saying the Krell are taking too long. Others are saying the Krell are using excessive force. And everyone is asking why humans are involved. Jack allowed himself a small smile. Good. Keep monitoring those channels. The moment someone decides to send ships, I want to know. Good. Good. On the ground, Varani and human fighters worked side by side. Lieutenant Ryan Cooper led a mixed team through the ruins of a coastal city. They were hunting a Krell command post. There, whispered a Varani fighter named Telson. In that building, I can see their communications equipment. Ryan studied the building through his scope. We need to take it out. If we destroy their local command, it will disrupt their entire operation in this sector. How do we get close enough? Telson asked. We do not go over. We go under. Are there sewers beneath this city? Yes, the old maintenance tunnels. But they are very narrow. Ryan grinned. Good thing, Varani are skinnier than humans. You and your team take the tunnels. Plant explosives beneath the building. My team will attack from the front to distract them. When you hear our first shots, blow the charges. It was a risky plan, but it worked. Ryan's team opened fire on the building, drawing the attention of the Krell soldiers. While they were focused on the front, Telson's team placed explosives in the tunnels below. The building collapsed inward, taking the Krell command post with it. But the victory was costly. 3 humans and 5 Varani died in the assault. Ryan sat among the rubble afterward, exhausted and grieving. Telson sat down beside him. They died well. They died protecting others. It should not have been necessary, Ryan said bitterly. The Galactic Council should have stopped this. Instead, they left you to die. Ambassador Prella of the Zenthari Alliance watched the battle reports from Varan with growing discomfort. What was supposed to be a simple conquest had turned into a brutal war. The images being broadcast across the galaxy showed something that made many species uncomfortable. They showed the Krell killing civilians, destroying cities full of non-combatants, using weapons designed to cause maximum suffering. And all of it was being recorded by the human ship. This is unacceptable, said Representative Morn of the Talarian Confederacy. The Krell assured us this would be a standard resource acquisition. This is genocide. The Varani are primitives, another representative argued. They have no legal status under galactic law. Perhaps, Prella said slowly. But the humans do have legal status. And the Krell attacked a Federation vessel without provocation. The council chamber filled with the representatives from 47 species. They had gathered for an emergency session. On the screens around them, live footage showed Varani fighters defending their ruined homes. It showed human soldiers fighting beside them. It showed children hiding in mountain caves. The humans have violated our non-interference policy, someone pointed out. Yes, Prella agreed. But watching these images, I find myself wondering if our policy is correct. On Varan, the battle had reached a critical point. Gethrick had committed 40 of his 50 ships to the fight. What should have taken hours had taken 3 days. And still the primitives resisted. This is impossible, he raged at his officers. How are we losing to a pre-spaceflight civilization? Rolth pulled up tactical reports. They are not fighting like primitives, War Master. They are using advanced tactics, guerrilla warfare, coordinated ambushes. The humans have trained them well. Then we will wipe out the mountains. Turn them to glass. Kill everything that moves. War Master, the Council is watching. If we use weapons of that magnitude, there will be consequences. Gethrick slammed his fist on the console. I do not care about the Council. I care about victory. But before he could give the order, a new alarm sounded. Sir, we are detecting multiple hyperspace signatures. Ships are arriving in the system. How many? 20. No. 30. Still counting. Gethrick felt a cold fear in his chest. What ships? What species? Human ships, sir. Lots of them. And others. Tellarian ships. Free Merchant Alliance vessels. Even some Zenthari cruisers. On the human ship, Katie looked up from her console with tears streaming down her face. Captain, we have incoming transmissions. 40 different species. They all say the same thing. What do they say? They are here to help. Jack felt something he had not felt in 3 days. Hope. The view screen activated, showing Admiral Peter Chen. Behind him stood officers from a dozen different species. Captain Morrison. This is Admiral Chen. I told you that you would face consequences for your actions. Well, here are your consequences. Half the galaxy is sending ships to support you. Gethrick watched in horror as more and more ships appeared. His fleet was outnumbered 3-1 now. 4-1. 5-1. War Master Gethrick, said a voice over the communication channel. It was Ambassador Prella. The Galactic Council has been reviewing your conduct during this operation. Your use of force against civilian targets violates multiple treaties. Your attack on a Federation vessel was unprovoked. You are ordered to withdraw immediately. You cannot order me, Gethrick snarled. The Council voted not to interfere. The Council voted not to interfere with your conquest of the Varani. We are not interfering with that. We are responding to your attack on human forces. There is a difference. It was a legal technicality, but it was enough. The assembled fleet moved into formation between the Krell ships and the planet. On the surface, Kelsara received word of what was happening in orbit. She immediately broadcast to her people, Citizens of Varan, I have news. When the humans first came to us, they said they would help. 1 ship against 50. They fought even though victory seemed impossible. They bled beside us. They died beside us. And because of their courage, the galaxy remembered its conscience. Her voice grew stronger. Ships are arriving from all across known space, not to conquer us, but to save us. Today we learned that in this vast universe, some species believe in doing what is right, even when it is hard. The humans taught us that, and now they have taught the galaxy. Across the planet, Varani fighters heard the news. They had been ready to fight to the death. Now, they had hope. In the ruined cities, human and Varani soldiers embraced. They had survived. Against all odds, they had survived. Gethrick faced an impossible choice. He could fight against overwhelming numbers and be destroyed, or he could retreat and face punishment from the Dominion for his failure. He chose to retreat. All ships, prepare to jump to hyperspace. We are leaving. The Krell fleet activated their drives and disappeared. leaving behind only wreckage and ruins. On the bridge of the human ship, exhaustion finally caught up with Jack. He sat down heavily, watching as dozens of friendly ships took up orbit around the planet. "We did it," Ben said quietly. "We actually did it." Jack shook his head. "The Varani did it. We just gave them a chance." Dr. Lisa Park came onto the bridge. She looked exhausted, covered in blood from the field hospitals. "Captain, the Varani casualties are heavy. Millions dead. Tens of millions wounded. But we saved billions. That has to count for something." "It counts for everything," Jack replied. Admiral Chen appeared on the screen again. "Captain Morrison, you are ordered to stand down and prepare for a formal inquiry. You and your entire crew will be investigated for violating direct orders." Jack straightened. "Understood, Admiral." Chen's stern face softened slightly. "That inquiry will determine whether you are the worst officer in the fleet for disobeying orders, or the best for knowing when orders should be disobeyed. Off the record, I know which way I am voting." The transmission ended. Katie turned to Jack. "What happens now?" "Now we help the Varani rebuild, and then we go home, to face the consequences of our actions." "Do you regret it?" Ben asked. Jack looked at the planet below, where Varani families were emerging from shelters, where children who would have died were now alive, where a civilization that would have been erased still existed. "No," he said simply. "I do not regret it at all." Over the next few weeks, relief ships arrived from across the galaxy. Food, medicine, construction materials. Species that had voted against helping the Varani now rushed to provide aid, embarrassed by their earlier decision. The Varani worked with their new allies to rebuild their cities. It would take years, maybe decades, but they would recover. Kelsara stood in what had been the central plaza of her capital. The buildings around it were ruins, but Varani and humans were already clearing the rubble. Jack came to stand beside her. "Your people are strong. They will recover from this." "Because you gave us the chance," Kelsara replied. "Why did you do it, Captain Morrison? Why did you risk everything for strangers?" Jack thought carefully about his answer. "Because a long time ago, my people decided that we would rather die standing up for what is right than live comfortably while others suffer. It makes us difficult. It makes us unpredictable. But it defines who we are." 6 weeks after the Battle of Varan, Captain Jack Morrison stood in a formal hearing room on Earth. Behind him sat his entire crew. Before him sat a panel of 5 admirals and 3 civilian officials. The room was packed with observers, reporters, and representatives from a dozen alien species. The charges were serious. Violation of direct orders. Unauthorized military engagement. Risking diplomatic relations with established galactic powers. Each charge could end his career. Together, they could send him to prison. Admiral Chen sat at the center of the panel. He had been silent for most of the hearing, letting the other officials ask their questions. Now, on the 3rd day, he finally spoke. "Captain Morrison, you violated direct orders from Earth Command. You engaged in combat operations without authorization. You risked the lives of your crew and potentially endangered Earth's standing in the galactic community. Do you dispute any of these facts?" "No, sir. I do not dispute them." "Then why did you do it?" Jack stood straighter. "Because it was the right thing to do, sir. 12 billion innocent people were about to die, and everyone with the power to help them chose to look away. I could not do that." "Could not, or would not?" "Both, sir." One of the civilian officials, a woman named Helen Price, leaned forward. "Captain, do you understand the precedent you have set? What happens the next time a captain decides that his personal morals are more important than orders?" "With respect, ma'am, I was not following my personal morals. I was following the principles that Earth claims to stand for. We say that all intelligent life has value. We say that might does not make right. We say that we stand against tyranny. But if those are just words we use when it is convenient, then they mean nothing." The hearing continued for another hour. Then the panel retired to make their decision. Jack and his crew waited in an adjoining room. "Think they will send us to prison?" Danny asked nervously. "Maybe," Jack replied honestly. "But it was worth it." Katie looked at the wall screen, which was showing news coverage of the hearing. "The public supports us. 70% of Earth's population thinks we did the right thing. Public opinion does not matter in a military court," Ben pointed out. "No," agreed Lieutenant Ryan Cooper. "But it matters in the court of history." After 2 hours, the panel returned. Admiral Chen stood to read the verdict. "Captain Jack Morrison, this panel has carefully considered your actions and your motivations. We find that you did violate direct orders. However, we also find that your actions were in keeping with the highest traditions of the United Human Space Federation. You saved 12 billion lives. You demonstrated to the galaxy that humanity keeps its promises. You showed courage in the face of impossible odds." Chen paused, and Jack thought he saw the hint of a smile. "Therefore, this panel has decided that while we cannot officially condone your actions, we can recognize them. You and your entire crew are hereby awarded the Solar Cross, Earth's highest honor for valor. Furthermore, you are being promoted to the rank of Commodore and given command of the new First Contact and Protection Fleet." The room erupted in applause. Jack stood in shock, barely able to process what he had just heard. Later that evening, there was a reception at Federation headquarters. Delegates from across the galaxy had come to attend. Jack found himself surrounded by people wanting to shake his hand and congratulate him. Kelsara was there, wearing formal robes of her people. She had traveled from Veron, specifically for the hearing. "Commodore Morrison," she said warmly, "I have something for you." She handed him a small sculpture made of crystal. It showed a human and a Varani standing side by side, their hands clasped together. "We call this the Promise," Kelsara explained. "It represents the oath my people have taken. We will never again stand by while others suffer. We are building our own space fleet. The humans taught us that courage is not about being strong. It is about choosing to act, even when you are afraid." Jack accepted the gift with gratitude. "Your people taught me something too. You taught me that even when everything seems hopeless, the right choice is still the right choice." Ambassador Prella approached them. The Zenthari diplomat looked uncomfortable. "Commodore Morrison, on behalf of the Galactic Council, I owe you an apology. We should have helped the Varani. We should have stood against the Krell. Instead, we hid behind our laws and our treaties. What matters is that you came when it mattered most," Jack replied. "Because you shamed us into it," Prella said bluntly. "You showed the galaxy what real courage looks like. The Council has passed new legislation because of you. The Sentient Protection Act. Any intelligent species, regardless of their technology level, now has the right to request protection from aggression." "That is a good start," Jack said. "It is more than a start. 7 species have already signed mutual defense treaties with humanity. Your actions at Varan have changed the political landscape of the entire galaxy." Ben joined them with drinks. "To the Valiant," he said, raising his glass. "She may be gone, but her name lives on." The old ship had been too damaged to repair. She had been officially retired, her hull used for scrap. But the new flagship of humanity's protection fleet would bear her name. Valiant 2 was already under construction in Earth orbit. Katie smiled. "I heard they are designing her to be fast and tough. A ship that can go anywhere and fight anyone." "That sounds right," Jack said. "That is exactly what we need." Over the next few months, the First Contact and Protection Fleet took shape. 10 ships, all built for speed and versatility. They would patrol the galaxy, responding to distress calls and protecting those who could not protect themselves. The crew of the original Valiant became the core of this new fleet. They trained new officers, sharing the lessons they had learned at Veron. But Jack made sure they remembered the cost. 37 crew members had died during the battle. Millions of Varani had perished. Victory had been bought with blood. In the gardens outside Federation headquarters, a memorial was built. It listed the names of every human who had died at Varan. Beside it was a larger memorial, bearing the names of the Varani dead. There were too many names to count. At the base of the memorial, an inscription in both human and Varani languages. They came when no one else would. They fought when victory seemed impossible. They proved that humanity's greatest strength is not our weapons, but our refusal to accept that some lives matter less than others. Jack visited the memorial often. He would stand there in silence, remembering faces and voices of those who had not come home. One day, a young officer approached him there. She wore the uniform of a cadet, fresh from the academy. "Commodore Morrison? My name is Julie Sanders. I am assigned to the Valiant 2. I just wanted to say, you are the reason I joined the fleet. What you did at Varan, that is what I want to do. I want to help people." Jack smiled at her enthusiasm. "Then you are joining for the right reasons. But remember, what we do is not about glory or heroism. It is about being there when someone needs help. Even when it is hard. Even when it is dangerous." "I understand, sir. I am ready." "Good. Report to Commander Hayes. He will assign you to a station." As the young officer walked away, Ben came to stand beside Jack. "We are getting a lot of recruits like her. Idealistic. Eager. That is good. The galaxy needs idealists. As long as we teach them to be realistic too. Not every situation will end like Varan did. Sometimes, we will lose." "I know," Jack said quietly. "But we try anyway. That is what makes us human." The Varani were rebuilding their world. With help from dozens of species, the cities were rising again. They were different now. Stronger and better designed. But they were still Varani. Kelsara had been elected as the supreme leader of her planet. She was guiding her people through the transition from a primitive world to a spacefaring civilization. It was not easy, but she had good teachers. The first Varani starship was launched a year after the battle. It was small and simple, but it represented hope. They named it the Morrison's Hope, over Jack's protests. "We wanted to honor the man who saved our world," Kelsara explained when Jack came to the launch ceremony. "I did not save your world alone. My crew helped, and your people fought for themselves. Yes, but you gave us the chance. Without you, none of us would be here." Jack watched the ship launch into space, its engines burning bright against the stars. "What will you do with your new ships?" 5 years after the Battle of Varan, Commodore Jack Morrison commanded a fleet that had responded to 43 different crises. Some were small, like mediating disputes between colonies. Others were larger, like defending a mining station from pirates. But none had been quite like Varan. Until now. Jack stood on the bridge of the Valiant 2 and studied the distress signal. It came from a species called the Tauren, a peaceful race that had just made first contact with the galactic community. A week after joining, they were being invaded by a criminal organization called the Red Suns. "How many ships are attacking them?" Jack asked. Lieutenant Julie Sanders, who had proven herself an excellent tactical officer, checked her screens. 15 warships, sir. They are demanding the Tauren surrender all their mineral wealth. And the Galactic Council? They are debating what to do. The Tauren are new members, but there are legal complications about using force to defend them. Jack felt a familiar anger rising. 5 years. And the Council was still hiding behind legal complications while people died. "How long until we reach the Tauren homeworld?" 3 hours, sir. "Then we have time. Open a channel to the fleet. I want all captains on the line." Within minutes, the faces of 10 ship captains appeared on the view screen. Some were human. Others were Varani, Talarian, and representatives of other species. They all wore the uniform of the First Contact and Protection Fleet. "We have a situation," Jack began. "The Tauren are under attack. The Council is debating. In 3 hours, we will arrive at their world. I need to know if you are all with me. Captain Telson of the Varani ship Peacekeeper spoke first. The humans stood with us when no one else would. We stand with the Tauren now. The other captains agreed one by one. Nobody hesitated. Good. Tactical. Send the battle plan to all ships. We are going to show the Red Suns what happens when they attack innocent people. The fleet dropped out of hyperspace above the Tauren homeworld. Below, the planet's cities were burning. The Red Sun's ships were in orbit, launching attack after attack. Open a channel to the Red Sun fleet, Jack ordered. A scarred alien appeared on the screen. Who are you to interfere with our business? I am Commodore Jack Morrison, of the First Contact and Protection Fleet. You are attacking a member of the galactic community. Withdraw now, or face the consequences. The alien laughed. You have 10 ships, we have 15. The odds are against you, Commodore. I have faced worse odds, Jack replied calmly. And I am still here. We do not fear you or your reputation. Your mistake, Jack said, and closed the channel. All ships, engage. The battle was quick and decisive. The Red Suns were criminals, not soldiers. They relied on intimidation and surprise. When faced with trained military forces, they crumbled. 3 Red Sun ships were destroyed. The rest fled into hyperspace. On the planet below, the Tauren people emerged from shelters and looked up at the sky. The human ships had saved them. Jack led a landing party down to meet with the Tauren leaders. They were small, furry creatures, with large eyes and gentle voices. Thank you, said the Tauren leader, whose name was Morin. We thought no one would help us. We are so new to the galactic community. That does not matter, Jack replied. Every species deserves protection from aggression. We are here to make sure you get it. But why? We have nothing to offer you. We are not powerful or rich. Jack knelt down to be at eye level with Morin. 5 years ago, my people helped another species called the Varani. We did it because it was right, not because we expected anything in return. That is what the protection fleet does. We help those who need help. Morin's eyes filled with tears. There are good people in the universe. Yes, Jack agreed. There are. And there are enough of us that the bad ones do not always win. The fleet stayed in orbit for a week, helping the Tauren repair their damaged cities and setting up defense systems. Other ships from the galactic community arrived to help, no longer waiting for council approval. On the last day, Jack received a message from Admiral Chen. The old man had retired from active duty, but still served as an advisor to Earth Command. Jack, I have been watching your career. You have done well. The protection fleet is exactly what the galaxy needed. We are just doing what you taught us, Admiral. Stand up for what is right. Chen smiled. I taught you tactics and strategy. You taught yourself about courage and principle. That is why you are good at this. I had a good example to follow. After the call ended, Katie came onto the bridge. She was now Jack's executive officer, second in command of the Valiant 2. Sir, we are receiving another distress call. A colony on the outer rim is being threatened by raiders. Jack looked at his crew. They were tired. They had been on deployment for 3 months. They deserved rest. But there were people who needed help. Set course for the outer rim, Jack ordered. Maximum speed. Nobody complained. They all knew what they had signed up for. As the ship jumped to hyperspace, Jack thought about how much had changed in 5 years. Humanity was no longer the newest member of the galactic community. They were respected, even feared by some, but they were also trusted. When someone was in trouble, they called for humans. When injustice needed to be confronted, they looked to the protection fleet. It was a responsibility Jack took seriously. He thought about the memorial on Earth, with its long list of names. Every officer in the fleet visited that memorial before their first deployment. It reminded them of the cost of their mission, but it also reminded them why the mission mattered. In the crew quarters, young officers talked about their dreams. Julie Sanders spoke with passion about the difference they were making. "We are changing the galaxy," she said to a group of cadets. "Before the Battle of Varan, the strong did whatever they wanted. Now, they have to think twice. They know that if they attack the weak, someone will come to help. But we cannot be everywhere," one cadet pointed out. "No," Julie agreed. "But we can be enough places that evil people have to worry. We can make sure that no species feels as alone as the Varani felt 5 years ago." On the Varani homeworld, now a thriving member of the galactic community, Kelsara gave a speech to graduating space cadets. "You are the first generation of Varani to grow up in a galaxy where we have friends, where we have allies, where we are not alone. This is because of the sacrifice of millions of our people. But it is also because one species decided that our lives mattered." She gestured to a group of human advisors who were helping train the new Varani fleet. "The humans taught us many things. They taught us how to build ships and how to fight. But the most important thing they taught us was this: that courage is not about being fearless. It is about doing what is right even when you are afraid. That principle saved our species. Now, it is our duty to carry that principle forward." The cadets cheered, and Kelsara smiled. Her people had come so far. From a species facing extinction to a proud member of the galactic community, all because one human captain had decided that some rules were worth breaking. Across the galaxy, in the council chambers, Ambassador Prella was giving a speech of her own. 5 years ago, this council made a decision that we all regret. We stood by and let the Krell attack the Varani. We hid behind our laws and our treaties. One human captain showed us that sometimes the law must serve justice, not the other way around. She paused, looking at the assembled representatives. "Today, I am proud to announce that the Sentient Protection Act has been strengthened. Any member species now has the right to call for help, and any species that responds will have the full backing of the Council. We have learned from our mistakes. We have learned from the humans." The Council voted unanimously in favor. It was a small step, but it was progress. Back on the Valiant 2, Jack received news of the Council vote. He smiled, knowing that the deaths at Varan had not been in vain. The galaxy was slowly becoming a better place. "Commodore, we are approaching the colony," Julie reported. "Sensors show 3 raider ships in orbit. Excellent. Open a channel. Let us see if they have heard of us." The raiders had heard of the protection fleet. When they saw the human ships arrive, they fled without a fight. The colonists were grateful, offering food and shelter to the crew. Jack declined politely. "We are just doing our job." "But you saved us," the colony leader insisted. "Yes, and tomorrow we will save someone else. That is what we do." As the fleet prepared to leave, Jack stood in his ready room and looked at the crystal sculpture Kelsara had given him 5 years ago. The promise. 2 figures standing side by side. He thought about all the species they had helped since then. The Tauren, the colonists, dozens of others. Each one represented a choice, a decision to stand up for what was right, even when it was difficult. Katie entered the room. "Captain, we have new orders from Earth Command. They want us to return home for resupply and crew rotation. How long until we need to head back?" "We have 2 weeks, sir." "Good. That gives us time to patrol the border regions. There are always people who need help out there." Katie smiled. "You never stop, do you?" "Neither do you. That is why we do this job." After she left, Jack sat alone with his thoughts. He thought about the young captain he had been 5 years ago, facing an impossible decision, choosing to help even when everyone told him not to. He had not known then that his choice would change the galaxy. He had not known that other species would follow his example. He had just known that he could not stand by and watch innocent people die. That simple choice had started something bigger than he could have imagined. A movement. A belief that spread across the stars. The idea that every life mattered. That no one should face evil alone. Humanity had given the galaxy something it desperately needed. Not weapons or technology or power, but hope. The hope that when darkness came, there would be someone willing to stand in the light. And as long as there were humans willing to make that choice, that hope would never die. The Valiant 2 jumped to hyperspace, heading toward the border regions where people needed help. Behind it, a galaxy slowly learned that the strong had a responsibility to protect the weak. That justice mattered more than convenience. That courage could come from the most unexpected places. The Battle of Varan had ended 5 years ago. But its legacy would last forever, because humanity had shown the galaxy a simple truth: that the measure of a civilization is not its power, but its willingness to help those who cannot help themselves. And that was a lesson worth fighting for. "What you do with yours," Kelsara replied. "We will help those who need help. We will stand against tyranny. We will be the species that remembers what it is like to be helpless and alone." Then you have learned the most important lesson. Years passed. The story of the Battle of Varan became famous across the galaxy. Children of a dozen species learned about the human captain who defied orders to save strangers. Historians debated its significance, but for Jack and his crew, it was not about fame. It was about the principle they had stood for. Every intelligent life has value. No one should be abandoned to die alone. Sometimes, the hardest choices are the right choices. These beliefs defined humanity's role in the galaxy. They made humans difficult, unpredictable, and sometimes frustrating to deal with. But they also made humans the species that other species called when they needed help. "Then you are a species worth knowing," Kelsara said. She held out one of her 4 hands. "The Varani will never forget what humanity did for us, and we will try to live up to the example you set." Jack shook her hand. "Just do not forget that you fought too. You could have given up. You could have surrendered. But you chose to fight for your world. That courage came from you, not from us." Around them, Varani and humans worked together, clearing rubble and building temporary shelters. Different species, different worlds, but united by a simple belief: that every life matters, that no one should be left to die alone, that sometimes the right thing to do is also the hardest thing to do, and that when you find someone willing to stand beside you in your darkest hour, you never forget them. "But you did not leave us," Telson replied. "That is what matters." For 3 days, the battle raged. Every hour brought new losses. The coastal cities were destroyed. Millions were dead. But the survivors kept fighting with desperate courage. In the mountain strongholds, Varani children helped make ammunition. Doctors worked day and night, treating the wounded. Everyone did what they could. The human ship kept flying, kept fighting, even as its systems failed one by one. And in the Galactic Council chambers, representatives began to arrive. They had been watching the battle, and many did not like what they saw. "How many are trained?" "About 5,000. It is not much." Jack looked at his crew. They were exhausted. They had not slept in 2 days. But they were still working, still fighting to give the Varani a chance. "You have all done amazing work," Jack said. "When this is over, Earth Command will probably court-martial every single one of us. But I want you to know that I am proud to serve with you." Katie smiled tiredly. "We are proud to serve with you too, Captain." The alarm suddenly blared across the bridge. The sensor officer looked up, his face pale. "Captain, the Krell fleet has arrived. They are entering the system now." Jack took a deep breath. This was it. No more preparation. No more planning. The battle was about to begin. "Sound general alert," he ordered. "All hands to battle stations. And someone send a message to Kelsara. Tell her it is time. Earth. We need to talk to you about something very important. Something that will happen in 2 days." End quote. End quote. Kelsara stepped forward, her heart pounding. This was the most important moment in her planet's history. Everything was about to change. I am Kelsara, she said. Welcome to our world. Please tell us why you have come. Trime. Jack took a deep breath. We are here because in 2 days, an empire called the Krell will attack your planet. They will try to destroy your cities and enslave your people. The Galactic Council has decided not to help you. But my people do not believe in abandoning those who need help. We are here to fight. Beside you. The plaza was silent. Thousands of Varani stared at the human captain, trying to understand what he had just told them. War was coming. But they were not alone.